Good morning, good evening, and good afternoon. Is Shirley with Spirit of Matter. So this video is kind of like a continuation of the previous video. And I want to address, it's Saturn's hour in a Venus night. And usually I wouldn't start on a Saturn, but the thing is that the midheaven is kind of very close to my ascendant. And I think it's right. So I'll just do it anyway. And Mars is in the first house. So Mars is applying to conjunct procyon and oppose Pluto, square Aries in Aries, and sextile Uranus. And what I call it is kind of like a sweet separation. What do I mean by that? First of all, if you're breaking up right now, it can be for the sweetest of reasons. And very likely it's because both of you or all of you have been more deep in contact with healing of maybe motherly wound, with Saturn also paternal wounds, and reconnecting with the essence of desire. Now, what it may look like at first is a direct confrontation of power, shifting of power that I talked about with the sun earlier. But remember that Mars is trining Neptune. So there is a reawakening of a certain longing that has already been answered. With Neptune, you have to remember this. Neptune is the great manifester. What you're longing for already exists. What you're separating from is that which holds you back from your dreams, or that which you needed to understand to go to the next phase. And so there is tremendous grief. And I have to admit, with Pisces and Neptune, it's giving, why am I alive? And in this situation, you could be standing in front of maybe even the love of your life and saying, why am I alive? And they can't say that to you, and they can't see why you don't see it yet. But there's just something going on. And then there is the sweet separations. And so sweet separations happen when people are genuinely reconnected with their essence of desire, and they find out that there is more to what they actually need in life, and that which they need is actually aspiring for them to already be available. Okay? So Mars does signal usually separations. It can also symbolize union when it's in good relations with Venus, which right now it's not. Okay? There is a Venus in conjuncting Mars. Not in conjuncting, is... Yeah, but there's a Venus in sort of in conjunct by sign, but it is not really trining Mars. Let's just say she's no longer trining Mars. She's not in conjuncting, but she's not doing very much with Mars. And so there can be a sweet separation in the sense that if you have been holding on to the wrong Venusian, or to the wrong partner, or to the wrong relationship, this partner, even the Venusian, she breaks free. And then with the Martian that maybe held place for her, is kind of like, well, I have to separate, I have to leave. And that was something that was innerly growing. It can also be situations or contracts or relations where, hey, it's no longer possible to masquerade what's going underneath. And what's going underneath is essentially, especially with Mars opposing Pluto, essentially people reconnecting with their essence of desire. So if you think about a job, let's say, okay, you think about all the many sacrifices that you made to be kind of like a chameleon, or kind of like adaptable, accommodating in your job. And then you decide that this is no longer going to be. Okay? So We are both Ketuing on the Zendaya, okay, with Ketu in 5 degrees Leo, in 5 degrees Leo. Leo, it's Leo degree of Libra, Ketuing on the people pleasing. We're no longer people pleasing. So if that was a position, a job, a place you were going to in society, you're no longer positioning yourself to harlot yourself for your job, harlot yourself for your partner, harlot yourself for housing, for anything. And this is why that can feel like death, because in the past you genuinely thought you're gonna get murdered, you're gonna die, you're gonna even wish upon that and not even have access to this. Like all these things that are summoning up. For some of you, with the square to Aries, it can be separation due to kind of like, gender issues. And remember, people that are LGBTQ, they're still in danger of like being murdered. So that can be something that is kind of squaring that, in the sense that, you could be separating because you've discovered, let's say, if you're a man, and this is more masculine because Mars, you could be separating because you discovered you like men more, but it doesn't mean that you found your man, okay, in that sense, because there is this square with Aries. It's a manifesting aspect, but it's manifesting somebody who still has tension. So but maybe when Mars goes to the end of Leo, you may find someone. Okay, for now. And the conjunction to Procyon is sweetening the conflict. For example, I was today at home, and if you watch my early video this morning where I did cold case, then the moon was on 22nd degree, Mercury was 11th degree, and I got a call from my mom about Lebanon and so on, the bombing banks, and then I got nudged to do a cold case. I did a cold case, and it was actually very satisfying but overwhelming emotionally experience. So much overwhelming emotionally, I didn't look at the cold case later. And then there was something that released, and a couple of hours later, and I stayed a whole day at home, which is unusual for me. Okay, I found out that at my retreat place, which is the airport, they halted the Ben Gurion airport flights for a couple of hours because there was a risk of bombing from planes, basically. And I was like, it's very unusual for me to stay the entire house. There was conglomerates of energies working for me to stay indoors, where I'm not the type to do that, because it was that much of a risk of an energy. And literally the cold case that I did was a remedy to the 22nd degree. Okay? And literally the fact that my mom, Moon, calls me when I'm in my home and talks about, Israel bombing Lebanon, so it's like more, it's a call about the deceased rather than getting actually murdered. So you see how the procyon factor, it's like, yes, there was, and eventually nobody got hurt by this bombing, and they returned to the flights as usual, but there's something very procyonic about the entire thing. Yes, there was a halt of the flights. Yes, I did a cold case, okay? But there was something very remediatory of the energies that were in the sky today, with the reception between the moon and Mars through Mercury. That was on the 11th degree of electrocution and flights and so on. A part of me thought it might have been exciting to be at the airport at the time, of course, but a benevolent being decided that perhaps it's best for me to stay house, and so on. So also on a mundane level, there was a sweetening of the conflict, albeit quite harsh conflict, with Mars and Pluto. Even if people died, there was sweetening of the death. And so when we are talking about more relational, then there is a sweetening of a certain separation. Okay? Now, if you understand that, and the separation is sudden, there is a sudden eureka, somebody has a sudden eureka, that can be about their values, their gender, or their financial, fiscal system, okay? And so it can also be that the woman breaks free, but there's something sweetening to the fact that the woman breaks free. Okay, the woman breaks free, or you find out, maybe you're the type of person that finds out, oh, I'm actually looking for a trad wife. I'm actually looking for this Cancerian woman who will feed me well and this. And I thought maybe you have a placement there, and maybe you're like the great cook. And then if this woman finds out, no, she wants her freedom. She's very, if I think about, myself, I can do astrology most of the day. If you ask me to cook a meal, maybe once in an eclipse on a blue moon, I might cook a very delicious meal that might not be to your taste, but that's the most I can offer. But that can be so much so that that the person can say, finds a person or not finds a person yet, and the person can say, well, that she is who she is, I am who I am, and then remember the fact that maybe they like to cook. Okay, so it can both be a sudden separation of the habits, because Mars is also the actions, sudden sweetening of the shift of direction. Okay, because there can be, definitely there's a shift of direction. I said this is a shift of mishaps, and so there's definitely a shift of direction that you're taking in life, but that is sweetened by procyon. The conflict with Pluto is sweetened by procyon. So there can be a sense of meaning and purpose here that overextends of union. Because Venus is in the sign we're seeking freedom. Jupiter is retrograde in Gemini, so it's not doing any new relations, it's just going over the past. And Mars is busy separating right now. So Mars, we are heading towards severing ties, hopefully with the unjust, while we are purging relationships and diplomacy. So definitely we do need that time with procyon, where the sweetening of the conflict, nobody is satisfying anybody anymore. Okay, but there definitely is something that is more graceful. Mars is still trining Neptune, and is sextiling Uranus. So there's a sudden action, a sudden eureka that can come with a sudden help, a sudden assistance. Brotherly love is very much encouraged in this, but there will still be the friction with Aries, and that leads me to a deeper phase in the continuation of these readings. I talked about with the issue of upbringing. I talked about what the hermaphrodite cults, and you have to understand that underneath the surface, there's a lot of, or underground and also above the ground, a lot of children, a lot of people that are going through ritual abuse still today. In essence, both in our worldview and conception and in our practices, world policies and whatnot, we are purging for the type of energy that created this. And so the tipping of the scales is very sensitive, because you think about a person going out of depression. And when a person going out of depression is basically going out of a situation where the no was not heard, to a situation where the yes, no, maybe begins to be heard. Okay? The purging the old past, and the risk that they will take their life now is very high. Why? Because they see improvement in their state and they feel they're able to do something. So before they will lose the ability to have the yes, no, maybe respected, they might go for taking sovereignty over their life and taking their lives. And when it comes to children or people that escape depression, or all these situations, like, hey, I have sovereignty now, I want to make use of it to take my life now because I couldn't do it when I was in depression. I didn't have access to that with dignity. I'm not going to say we have mass suicide. It's not even the skies. Mercury is out of the 11th degree of Scorpio. It's not, right now it's not the skies, which is why I feel comfortable talking about this, because that could be a trigger to people. And if this is a trigger to you, then know that having access to that with dignity can facilitate your fighting another day or giving it time. Because, and that's something that I'm half Dutch, and we know, because when people have access to that with dignity, they live longer. They choose life more often than they do when they cannot even speak about it, or when I'm in isolation around this issue. Okay, I cannot stress how much for my mental health, with all this going on in Netherlands, for my mental health, Netherlands has been so constructive. And that's something, and I'm not talking about the Basser van der Kolks, I'm talking about the open dialogue, I'm talking about access to that with dignity, I'm talking about knowing for the cases of that with dignity, for all cases that have to do with incest or sexual boundary violation that's prolonged. I'm talking about the mental cases, and just knowing this is kind of like it's setting you free from misconceptions about yourself and your situation. Not that I'm a victim of incest, okay, in family or something like that, but that's re-establishing a certain ability for to be who you are. And yet Netherlands, one of the most affected, together with Belgium, with the hermaphrodite cults and the cults of basically interfering in one's ability to have upbringing happiness. And yet what's been happening right now in the sky, and if you are energy sensitive, this speaks to you directly. We as collective have been slowly recovering our upbringing wounds. This is what solar lunar eclipse are doing in general. Okay, remediation of sun, ability to be visible. Sun exalts in Aries. Here we're not in April yet, but I said what I said. April is going to be the spring of people. And we talk about people as sovereigns. Yet the winter is winter. Okay, I said what I said. And as for the moon, so we're talking about solar remediation. And as for the moon, our ability to have our needs met, our awareness that we're entitled to have our needs met. Okay? We're entitled to feel safe. We're entitled to have food that is actually nourishing. We're entitled to have the psychological needs met. Okay? And that can come about, especially if you have aspects with Neptune or so Saturn, Neptune and stuff like that, that can come about in a roundabout way. That can come about in where you try therapy, you try this, you try that, you try that. None of that shit works. But when you tend to Neptune and Pluto, miraculous healing occurs in your life. Okay? A shift of perspective. And as we collectively shift our perspective, a lot of the old things must die. The old practices, okay? You cannot do satanic ritual abuse for money, supposedly, when you know the true wealth is actually not manufactured that way, but more so you will not be able to enjoy for that money because you're not connected with your true essence or with your true heart. Okay? And this is where every solar eclipse, lunar eclipse, people are reconnecting with their hearts and with their emotional needs in a different way, in a different area of life. And now as collective, we do it on a deeper level, because right now is the time where we have the big giants, okay, Pluto, Neptune, and Uranus, positioning up for worldly changes. The old elite dies, and we talk again about the inbreeding, about the hermaphrodites, about the rape of babies, about the DNA. And it started with the juvenile conversation. People are reptiles, people are this, people are that. And then we come to the more humane perception. It really can shift our perspective and allow us to embark on a whole new journey also in our relational dramas, okay, that can feel like death. With Mars opposing Pluto, it can feel like death, but there's a rebirth and regeneration that's coming with this supposed that you're purging how you felt about things, and how you felt about things had to do with the collective, okay, and it had to do with collective trauma. But when we are purging for this collective trauma, we're basically opening up the gates for both children to be released, for certain, not only rules and regulations, but certain culture to grow that hasn't been there since the Inuit, since the origin of mankind, okay? And I see very, very strongly people with Moon Aries complexions. Okay, so everybody with a Moon sextile Aries, Moon trine Aries, they're facilitating this anchoring, and some of them, depending on the natal chart, have been holding space for quite a lot. But the hard aspects, they're facilitating the crisis and the breakthrough. Okay, from the patterns of the Übermensch, the patterns of the Nibelungen, the patterns of all these manufactured human being, manufactured humanity, the cloning, the memories. We think about the past of when I was a child or a teenager, they were cloning a ship, okay, not a boat, like not a big boat, but a ship. And everybody was like, oh, this is the first cloned ship, and it would bring questions about humanity. Of course, it was not the first cloned ship. They were cloning humans within the elite for centuries. You want to watch Trudy Verstegen's media about that. But the thing is that the way that it's been done, what's been doing to humanity, and because it's our decision makers and people in all key positions, that has been a lot. And the antidote, the antithesis is also developing, where people say enough. We don't want more of that type of birthing, conception, and upbringing. We want to grow with love. With conception, want to conceive with willing consent, with love. And with good conditions. So some people go about it in a way of technology, but then they could be used for slavery. And some go about it with saying, no, we really needed to conceive with willing consent, with love, and that requires us to reconnect, okay, with our sense of purpose and joy in life. Again, one of the leading voices when it comes to that is whistleblower and ex-top banker, but future currency person is Ronald Bernard, and his story. You know, you want to listen to him from his words. The very thing that saved him was a near-death experience after he tried to kill himself, where he was seen birthing. And what birthing, if you think about the Rosicrucians, that they do things with rape and torture, then he was seen birthing that's actually done the beautiful process of birth. We've not seen everything, because definitely there are things that it takes time, okay? But definitely conception has to do with willing consent and birthing, And we as humanity did not even have this awareness, even when people were married and did love each other, but did not having this awareness and the reconnecting, some we all go through. So reconnecting with our boundaries, with our essence of desire, with ability to say yes, no, and maybe, with our roots, okay, access to resources that allow for this way of being and purging of what's not. So the separation, the divorces, the separations, everything that's happening right now is really shedding for something that is so deep and so hidden. And this allows us to change the frequency. And just like I spoke about in the previous video, I said, if so many people made a change of the frequency around money and say, I love money, money can support me, money is something that's good to have in abundance, with money I can do good things in the world, power can be used for good cause, okay? Money is magical, okay? Money supports me in my endeavors. I have more and more money. I'm allowed to live better than my elders. Even when my elders can be supported when I make more money, when I live better, so my parents live better. All these things, so many people. I don't have to work hard for the money. The other way around, I need to do something I'm passionate about, and then the money rolls in. And let the money roll in, and all these teachings and that are arriving to the world right now. Now what has to change? Well, the money. Now think about love. Think about sex. Think about relationships. Relationships is not a battlefield. Love is not a battlefield. Sex is not a duty that you have to do. And it's supposed to be pleasurable for all people. Love is supposed to be a place where you have a joy of living that you share with someone. Relationships, they're supposed to be something that supports your well-being, where you grow with love. Love is supposed to be loving. Okay? Orgasm is supposed to be joyous, loving, okay? Though all of these things, whether regardless of gender or sex or whatnot, for all of these things, they're supposed to be that. And we're shifting our perspective. And also shifting our perspective on who we are, Rahu in Aries. I am deserving of love, whatever my gender is, whatever my sexual attraction is. We go underneath for the essence of desire. I'm deserving to meet my emotional needs, and I'm deserving to shine, and my partner deserving to shine. And all these things, what has to change? The hermaphrodite cults. And those are the shifts we are seeing in society. Now, some of you, in healing and recovering yourself, or in tending to the issues or agendas that you've been tending to, okay, some underlying self-healing has been happening. So, and that can seem like you are the karma where people reconnect with their essence of desire next to you, but then it seems like they're falling from your life. Okay? They reconnect with the essence of desire, they're falling from your life. And like, what the fuck is this? Okay? Because it's basically the leaves are falling for where you're not supposed to be. There could be wonderful people, but a wonderful people where your essence, in your own essence of desire, you are also reconnecting with your essence of desire. And on the way, leaves fall, because we are in autumn, and there is a freezing. Okay, if you think about yourself as a tree, it says the leaves are falling. They're very beautiful with all the many colors of autumn. And now it's like it's winter, it's freezing. And definitely you've been looking for love for all seasons, if you think about that. But then the hibernation process, where you're letting go, you're shedding the old with the spring, and especially with this spring, because it's April and we are going to be having Mars releasing from the opposition with Pluto, where it's going to be entering, re-emerging, defreezing for the trees, for the winter, for the war. And a lot of people will be more connected with essence of desire, so much so that for some of them, they can't find for what they're looking for. Now, you might be one of these people where it felt like the karma is so harsh on people, but the reconnection to essence of desire it's so deep. Okay, it's just like there's something way too big and way too deep for this to just go like it works for everybody else. If you have retrograde planets, retrograde Venus, if your outer planets are connected to your relational planets, Pluto, Neptune, okay, to some degree Uranus, although with Uranus it can begin with the Uranus trine, Uranus sextile, okay, also with Pluto, Neptune, but there is the Uranus square. It comes way earlier than the Uranus opposition. For some, the Uranus opposition, and for some, your mid-40s is a reason why they say life begins at 40s. You have your Pluto opposition, your Neptune opposition, your Uranus opposition, all at once. Okay? Life definitely begins at 40, and if your outer planets are connected to that, is very likely something will shift. Either we'll have second marriage, or if you want to be single and is actually not having committing relationships, or for the other way around. So far I'm 40, I'm entering my Pluto Neptune square, and then for Uranus opposition, so far I'm entering it single. The biggest flex is so much saving money on divorce lawyers. But get yourself an astrologer before you get yourself a divorce lawyer. For most of you, it's going to work. Not because saving the marriage, but because you'll know more of why things happening. And it saves a lot of money when you are both able to bridge the connection rather than to explode the connection and send the dividends to everybody else but you and your children. So, a humble advice. The lawyers in the crowd are like, I'm losing money on real estate, I'm losing money on drug cartels, I'm losing money on divorces. What am I supposed to do? I don't know, patents or something. Okay, so definitely there's a sweetening of whatever is going on right now. If separation happens, it is very sweetened. And for some of you, you've been serving karma. Okay? And if outer planets are connected to your relational planets, expect that to begin to work in your mid-40s, even mid to late 40s. If you're 20 years old hearing this, don't go. I had a client where I said, well, Saturn matures at 36, and they were in their 20s, and I could not take this sentence back. Again, I don't know what your fate is, what you're this, what you're that. You could be married, you could be in relations, but definitely something is going to completely transform in your mid-40s. Maybe with the same relationship, maybe not. Okay? But definitely, if you are in a position where you've been disempowered, expect that to change. Sometimes it can change in a different way. Okay, if you think about something that's spoken outside, okay, for colleagues, we have a couple of colleagues that they were married, and the woman is a bit quite younger, but then she had an idea. She woke up with a dream. Okay, the friend woke up with an equation. She woke up with a dream. And that dream she began to incarnate, and she built a whole new science. And she said, I have managed to equate the power, or to shift the power relationship in my marriage to where I'm way more happiest woman. Okay. And that can be the case for you. That can be the case where at around your 40s or mid 40s, the power shift, you become more empowered, and therefore the relationship just grows happier. For other of you, you're becoming more empowered and the old partner has to fall off like a tree. Maybe they were gay. Like, you never know. Or if you two are gay, I really don't know what it is, but definitely when outer planets are involved within our planets, the shifting of the tides happens towards your mid to even late 40s. If it's Chiron related, expect even age 50 to be meaningful. Yes, in various ways. So deep healing can happen around this time. That's the most that we go, yes. But for you, if you are hearing this, you definitely have been serving karma. So you definitely have been picking people up where they are practicing old ways. So they could be harloting themselves to something. They could be acting like a chameleon, which is basically a facet of trauma. Clearing the eyesight is very important in that case. They could be they could be in all kinds of various situations where they find out all kinds of things about themselves, and that is what the karma you're serving. Okay, you're not allowing them to overtake your sovereignty in love and your commitment. Okay, you're not allowing them to overtake the sovereignty or commitment. Or you could be running into charts. Okay, I've been running into charts. Well, let's say Venus, Sun, Mercury opposing Pluto, and it's still like a mystic rectangle and a this and a that. And I understood, okay, that's not a chart I could commit to without remediation, because I have Venus and Mercury opposing Pluto, and even though my Sun is not opposing Pluto, she's opposing Saturn. So I definitely, and I have Venus opposing Saturn, so I definitely would need that, okay, to lean on, to relax into someone who brings me into love. Okay, it's not because I'm not self-loving, but because I'm self-loving, I would want someone to support, someone who brings in the trines, that brings in the sextiles, that brings in all of this. For otherwise, I could be with that person, but I would need a third party that brings in some sort of containment or communication that is, more supportive or more eloquent than, Mercury, my natural Mercury Pluto square. Okay, and that can express itself in those ways. So your partner in some way might not be, or it could be with a person like me. Okay, there's the partner's not letting you, your partner's not giving up on themselves. Okay, and that can express itself in non-monogamy. Your partner's not being monogamous where it cannot be monogamous, and you are the person where it cannot be monogamous. But you have to look into yourself. Why is it? Is it the monogamy? Am I not monogamous? Am I just, what am I lying to myself? And then you discover, you reconnect with your essence of desire through this crisis and find out, well, maybe I'm actually, into that other type of people. Maybe I'm actually, I do need also chart where we have more better communication, or maybe my values, maybe a million things, but there's something very sweet about this separation. It's heartbreaking, it's intense, but it's also rebirthing. And for some of you, that may express itself as you've dated two people, you're no longer with these two people, but not because it was you are trying to jungle between sessions, okay? But because genuinely you had to balance this karmic relations. It's like, for this chart and your chart, you needed another chart to be the third party so it can circle around, but yet that circling around was not operating well. And so that too is being dissolved by somebody discovering someone else, somebody this, and you could be feeling like, oh, I'm left alone. It might not necessarily be the type of commitment style, but can also be you are reconnecting with essence of desire. You are not doing the toxic type of relationship in either commitment style. So everything that has been with you because of toxicity, okay, because they were people pleasing, because of trauma, essentially, yes, you recover from trauma and you're holding, serving karma. Other people have to cross over. They have to recover. And I remember when I was in my first degree, I had a huge crush on someone I did not know at all. And I saw that there was like their sense of humor is not my sense of humor. What they, erotically doing, not exactly seeming like that. And if that was not enough, they had girlfriend. If that was not enough, she was model. So I said, Shirley, you really don't have it harder harder to get. And I didn't understand at all why I had this crush. Because I absolutely did not know them. Okay, there was rapport, there was attraction, but it was mutual, but I absolutely did not know them. And then something exploded about it. Some karma was served. I'm not going to get into that. And then I asked myself, okay, what if that person wanted me? Okay, what if that person was available, wanting me, and that? And I began to dredge up for all of the things that keep me away from being in relationship. Okay, so right now, when we have this conversation right now, very likely you're not in the position that I was in, like my mid-degree, but very likely what the position that you are in is that you are serving this karma for people. Okay, it's like, why is this person not wanting? Maybe you wanted monogamy. Okay, why is this person doesn't want to be with me and only me? Now, what if this person wanted to be with you and only you? Now begin to dredge up the things. You might be either experiencing that, or very likely you're serving this karma. You're serving this karma for a person or for many people where you are in some way a little bit of unrequited love, even if they are with you to some degree. And they have to ask myself, what is here my essence of desire? Now, sometimes it is just the behavior. They believe that to get a woman, they have to behave like this or like that or like that. They have to be a maniac. They have to be a jerk. They have to be this. They have to be that. Because, mind you, with the hermaphrodite cults, they are programmed and are with people that are programmed to do like really fucked up stuff for MK Ultra. So it's just like it disconnects people. And so the reconnection part can be really, they have to come to terms with all the personalities that have been in the process, program and deprogram. Now just running into you, but the programming doesn't work on you. And yet you're loving, you're benevolent, you're amiable, okay? You're self-loving. That can be viewed serve as karma to these people that now have to kind of face their demons and go through this almost death and rebirth, which is happening this winter with themselves, because you will not supply them for their need in connection, where that connection is dynamic, is toxic or is unhealthy. But that can also be for you, some of you, that you take a step forward, you begin to honor yourself more, then that person, they get into your life, they could actually see, well, let's say they are present with you and you speak, I don't know, with one of your parents, and your parents do something, and they're like, the fuck was that? They see where you were coming from and what you're getting over. Okay, the fuck was there? There's a lot of family secrets are going on at this time, a lot of hidden secrets. So there, why a lot of separations are very sweetened. But many people can see, for like, if you are serving this karma, you might also be growing with those people. You usually are not only serving karma, okay? You are growing and other people are growing. Many people are growing away from each other right now. And right now it is sweetened because you understand Because you grow with love, then you understand why you separate as you reconnect with your essence of desire more and more. For some of you that have had hidden affairs, some of you might be going back to your spouses, might be divorcing, might be finding out that both your lover and your spouse is not the person, but you're liberating something. And very likely the relationships that are right now, you won't regret them. Okay, I'm not talking about what begins now, because usually right now it's more ending. But very likely the relations that come right now into your life, you won't regret it. Even if there was heartbreak, you won't. It is sweetened, and you won't regret it, because with this Mars Uranus, you're liberating yourself from a contract, or your partner's liberating yourself from a contract. You're happy to see them shine. And when it comes to your life, again, you have to ask yourself how old you are, what planets are connected, and how connected you are to your own essence of desire. A lot of limiting beliefs you have about money, relationships, structure, people in general are, releasing themselves out of your system. And that can feel like even grief and loss, okay? You're grieving and losing that which once were, but to be reborn in a different way, in a way where you're more in alignment with walking your dream, okay? And that is also to do with some certain enemies. There can be something where people genuinely just try to, wait on you, but for you it's like it's liberation from an old contract. You think about, some enemy tried to sabotage. Let's say some enemy tried to sabotage your housing, okay? Then you go through the death and rebirth, but you knew you have to get out of there. You knew you have to get out of this contract into a place where you have opportunity. So what this enemy was allowed, this was creating some crisis for you, where anyway you have to deal with that. Anyway, you have to deal with that. Anyway, they have to get out for you currently house towards a place where you are, maybe for your own house, maybe in a region that's better, reimagine housing, okay, to deal with whatever that crisis entails, and just to go straight forward. So where your enemy is kind of like pissed off, or this or that, or they may want the house, but it's sweetened because you already see where you're heading. And you are only getting an upgrade. Okay? There's some people get the boot upstairs. You could be one of them. Okay? Some of you just get the boot upstairs right now, whether it's a job situation or even a relational situation. And the boot upstairs might not be in terms of necessarily status or something, which it can be, but it's elevating. So what I want you to do, to understand, is that the heartbreak takes place. If your separation, is natural that your heart breaks. It's natural to grieve, and it's natural to be grateful for the good things that you've had with that person and the growth that you've had as individuals, and to understand what that served in your life, because you have been coming to heal. The relationships right now have been coming to heal the timeline of the hermaphrodite cults. Whether you're common people, whether you're leaders, and that is all about to change, okay? Because we are at the changing time of that, where you held no power, where it's ragged to riches with old money, whatnot. The effect of the Mars Pluto is kind of like it's kind of like somebody's being thrown at a pile of trash, and with the pile of trash, as they move, they compost to this pile of trash, and it seems like they're very dirty. They wash themselves, and then something grows in that pile of trash that nothing was thrown into, because there was no changing of the energy. Okay? When I just began to work on this land here, there were many things thrown there. So I took the cartons that they throw and I tried to grow potato in them. And then they stopped throwing things. Okay?
because they just thought that nobody uses this plot of land. They started to use this plot of land, and a neighbor says they want to buy for the land and to build on the land. I have a different vision. Okay, then I grow things, and then, well, the landlord has a different vision. Then I grow land that where I can enjoy whatever grows here without having to even plant anything. Not that I have problems with planting, or even water anything. So I learn how to work on land without water, and to bring in the water, which is what I came here to do. It's my middle name, Tali. It's the dew, the fresh dew of the sand, which my Dutch father gave me. There's my first name, Shirley, which is both to sing and to whistle blow. But then there is my middle name, which is to bring in the water and the reconnection again with my fatherland, and all that entails. So, but all these things that I'm doing, whereas could be that the next step is to do that where it's needed, or for that to just be continuing to be done and me doing something else. There's also bringing in the waters, bringing in the fertility, the fresh waters, the cleanliness in a very weird way, because in my day-to-day I sometimes find it difficult to even clean. But there's just something that is going on in my life in this way. So for you, I want you to take a look at what are the things that you have been bringing to the world with those people, and you will continue to do so. It's just you may have felt a break up or breakthrough, and then a break up of the stagnation. So you want to break, you asked for a breakthrough is coming. This Mars sextiling Uranus, and it has 2 more degrees for the perfecting of the sextile, is a breakthrough is coming. It's by sudden action, sudden eureka, sudden revelation, sudden piece of information, that brings you to end some situation of contractual relations or whatnot that you no longer serving you, and you're no longer serving for each other, and to make a space vacant for what's next to come. Okay, for something is bigger and better for both of you, or all of you that are involved with this. Deeper touch. Why am I emphasizing the hermaphrodite cults? Because so much has been invested to create people that are so disconnected from anything of divine essence, and I don't mean religion. I mean just connection to joy of living. Okay, so much energy has been invested in that direction that any good relationship with a person that wants to be somebody in their life requires to deal with MK Ultra, which is the hermaphrodite cult, which is just touching on everybody's lives. So what it first feels like is a giant blockade, but then people are moving in the energy, and even when they're helpless, they're like, if you can't do something in the physical, then you can just sit and you set intention and you pray and you this and you that, and the energy moves around. And so miracles are occurring in front of your eyes, and the genuine miracles and the genuinely real. You're not imagining. Mars is trine in Neptune. It's not a hardly aspect in Neptune. It's hardly aspect in Pluto. So this time, you're not imagining. This time, you're taking action towards your dream for real. And you're super courageous. And everyone is. And this is knowing that with the separations that happen right now, both of you served as reconnection to the essence of desire, upon which you also taken action towards your dreams. And that's more important than your being committed, having a ring on. You remember what I said about, sorry for putting Beyonce on the spot, she's going through a tremendous crisis right now. Definitely some karma is served, but she's not to blame that she's been born to where she's born. But there was this ring on, that I have my ring on, and I have my ring on. What ring was it? Okay, it was a Peter ring. I'm not even talking about Jay-Z. I'm talking about everything that's affiliated and infiltrating for any couple that wants to be somebody, or couple that wants to be a power couple. So it just so that they won't end up like the fate of, let's say, Beyonce and Jay-Z. And again, without putting them on the spot, they're not to blame to have been born to the life circumstances they have been born. And but just so that other couples won't have to experience that, then changes are taking place with just those very limiting factors. Okay, with just those very limiting factors. And so the reconnection to essence of desire is tremendous. No longer are we satisfied with the old ways. No longer are we satisfied with the old upbringing. No longer are we satisfied with, those things. And so that is something where somebody did not even dare to wish to dream about something, and then that dream that they didn't even dare to dream is manifesting. So it's a death and rebirth, and the loss and grief is real because you're losing something that is very beautiful and powerful in your life, but you're also taking a step towards your dream. And inevitably, many of you, all of you, have been manifesting, calling, crying, begging, pleading, moving energy around, taking radical steps, risking relationship, burning bridges, recovering the bridges that they burned. Okay, but all these things where no longer will I settle for less than what I genuinely and truly desire. And essence of desire, I have to admit, okay, essence of desire, yes, if it is relational, you see it as person when the person comes in, but essence of desire is what you desire in relationship to be. And some of you have given up on even developing this essence of desire because it's been so crazy. Of course, it's been so crazy when underneath the ground there are children who go through satanic ritual abuse. You've been tending to that, breakthrough after breakthrough after breakthrough, like a domino effect. The breakthroughs come in and the separations now are sweetened because what's not the breakthrough that you need in that term was the breakthrough you need in another term, they come out. Okay? On a personal level, I definitely say I had some encounters with people that people consider hermaphrodites or reptilians or whatnot, and some of them carried an emotional rapport or weight, and that helped me truly rejuvenate my view on relationships and my view on what is relationship, because growth can happen if you haven't met the person in person, and what they do in your life and what those things charge in your life. And also clarified for me there's a difference between reading about something in the news or hearing about something and encountering that person, and or the energy for that person, and seeing both the beauty and the things they did, and the challenges. That is something really important about this person. It is sweetening, okay, for the effect. If you watch for the cold case that I tended to today, it was so emotional, and how emotional it was for me. So yes, the difference when it's a genuine energy encounter, a lineage encounter, or a personal kind of dream or astral encounter. And I can definitely say that completely revolutionized how I look at things, and even gave me a new faith and sense of hope, and seeing that so many within the places that we deem as most conflictual are vying for change and reconnecting with their essence of desire, albeit okay. And that for me is growth and change. There's beyond miracle, and there's beyond what I believed was possible, and that's the breakthrough. Okay, if you are having anything to do with outer planets to inner planets, what you do with the inner planet is meant to be done on a large scale. Okay. Yeah, I mean, I don't want to put people on the spot, but I can say for myself, okay, I have Pluto in the ninth house. Whatever I do with water expands upon cooling, whatever I do with astrology, whatever I do on a level that it's not intentionally hidden level, it's just like there's energies going on. And for those of you who read that, it's very transparent. I'm not trying to hide anything. Um, and that has been bigger than one person to one person, but it's also have been the what people can do, okay, what two people can do, or what an encounter can do, perhaps for the world even. And that's something that's giant thing that's almost challenging for me to accept. um, but this giant thing is definitely important, and and there is also the understanding that no longer will I settle for anything that is not authentically me, and that frequency is carried through the energies, carried through the encounters that I encounter, the people that I meet or not meet, okay, and encounter, um, and the changes that are apparent also in me, and how that affects and what it creates in the world. So yeah, it's been a journey, and knowing that that's the thing that we are alchemizing here, that's what makes it so powerful and so obvious that this is what is happening. It allows you to both like forgive things that you wouldn't otherwise forgive, but not in a way to maintain toxic connections, um, and rather to honor yourself more and more and more. So people have to up level with that, or go through, take their time, go through their own, in their own time and space, okay? They fall out of your life, but they're not falling out of love. They're falling into a place where they maybe need to hibernate, or they're going through something. And there's a winter to this place, or they have to shift the perspective about you, or you have to shift the perspective about them, or about things in your life for really making the place to grow with love. When you understand what you've been asking for is arriving. So if you ask to grow with love, is happening. And if what stops you, if you ask to succeed happy, as I did, anything, you have to be happy, right? You find happiness, and you're learning more and more about this, and you're curating more and more of whatever keeps that from being, and that can be connected with the transits in your chart, with the overwhelming things that you're dealing with, and the entire world, okay, entire world in general. So this is where we are releasing from things, and also because you understand what is going on in the world, and the fact that that affects all of our relational view, job satisfaction view, housing situation view, banking system view, then things fall apart to fall into place. And that has been affecting all areas of our life, from our bedroom to our branding, okay, from the way we look to the way we feel and think and experience life. Yes. So then, continuing on with this type of energy, with this type of reading, Mars has not yet perfected its opposition, its first opposition to Pluto. It's going to go back on the 22nd degree. where it was. So we're absolutely not done with the confrontations, with the alchemy, with the death and rebirth thingy. We're absolutely not done. But we also understand, for some of you, you might walk alone for a while because what this entails, or some things have to be secret for a while still, because what this entails, okay, I don't usually say it by names, but because it has a security issue, then I will say it by name. No, I won't say it by name. Okay. Without names. Some, I tend to prevention of political assassination and so on and so forth. And I ran into some pattern that somebody has to take family holidays, to book same family holiday spot. Like I really didn't really understand what the pattern they have when they book vacation. And that may apply to one or more people, is attracting assassination attempts. So assassins loved these patterns. So I hope that is useful. It's not my intuition. It was somebody that commented that someplace. And for anybody that does that and is high risk situation, then yes, please, you understand, especially if you change position or change something or recently got certain update or upgrade in your life, even if you're in no immediate risk, that could be information that could be useful to you. Okay, again, what's important for our nervous system is not to go to work at the same route each time. So this is very important for nervous system. If you make that your habit, then you will prosper in that relation, also in terms of security. I can't say that I always walk my talk, but try to. So some of you have to walk alone, or it's going to look like you're walking alone. And for some of you, even read energy. Energy is red. So yes, it seems like you walk alone for a while. It's not necessarily the case. Again, this is the winter. The spring here is the spring. April is one spring, okay? But this spring in particular, however, for the winter, some of us might have to walk alone because of same what I mentioned. Okay, if you book same place in the same holiday, same this, same that, then people are going to have eyes, have tabs on for what you do. I want to give you a tip for when I was traveling to Netherlands. I was channeling the whole time. I didn't know, I want to say it again, I didn't know I'm traveling to Amsterdam until I bought the ticket. So I was looking for Germany, I was looking for this, for that, for the gemeente, how it works, okay? I didn't receive the destination. Now, you understood that a part of this channeling experiment was on the frequencies that were both benefic and not so benefic. But this is something where so much so that I didn't know where I was traveling before I bought the ticket. Now, I don't recommend you to go all that way because then you cannot, how can you trust, right? I was doing channeling experiment and I understood, that, given my conditions, that was within the realm of possible to go with that. But I want you to understand that for many of you, the energies that are around you, people try to interfere in those energies. And some of you cannot have, Twitter talks or SMS, or some of you cannot have a certain type of you're going to have to get good at reading energy, and that's perhaps a part of the process of what you're being trained to do, depending on your phase or location. Those of you that are doing channeling experiments right now, know that there are a lot, like you will get on a lot of frequencies, okay? So remember, okay, that is the case, but it will also be put in situations that are of crisis situations. Some of you may not have too much of choice, but beware that, you know, take your power back and whenever you can, and this is a set intention, and that is going to be okay, the case. And this might have to do with your mission. Yes, and some missions you can go alone, and depending on both the person and the chart and the mission, some missions can allow to be with partnerships or hidden partnerships, and not all missions allow for all things. And I'm not talking about intelligence missions, I'm talking about what you are tending to, what you came here to bring in, essentially, okay? So for some of you, you will have supportive partnerships and relations for that mission, and for some of you, it requires a bit of a wolf time. Now, there is something very fascinating, okay? If I take a look, let's say you are Ascendant Aries. When Rahu has been in your first house, that means that Ketu has been in your what? Seventh house. Now it's going to be Ascendant Pisces. However, if you were Ascendant, okay, let's say, you know, I'm Pisces, so if you are Ascendant Pisces, your seventh house is Ketu, so you're supposed to concentrate more on you. But if you're Ascendant Virgo, you're supposed to concentrate more on your partner. So how